Thank you for choosing Aurora Rally equipment, and welcome to the installation video for the Aurora Rally Superlight kit for KTM 690, Husqvarna 701, and GasGas 700. We will guide you step by step on how to install the kit on your bike. Installation should take 3 to 5 hours in total, depending on your skill level. Please remember that if you don't feel comfortable at any stage of the installation, contact either a professional or a member of our team. Prevention is always better than a cure. Start by carefully opening the kit box. Take out the kit parts and put them on a clean surface. Let's begin. Start disassembling the bike by removing the light mask. Remove these 4 bolts using a T30 Torx socket. Remove the brake line and front wheel speed sensor from the mask guide. Unplug the light harness. Carefully cut and remove every zip tie that keeps the cables in place. Unplug all the cables using a flat screwdriver and press on the locking mechanism of each plug. Remove the warning light bulbs from their housing. Remove the ABS switch by pushing it upward. Unplug and remove the pressure sensor. Release the mask from the cables that come from the left handlebar switch. Unplug and remove the speed sensor cable from the right side of the mask. Remove the turn indicators using a 13mm wrench. Remove the warning light housings by pushing them upward. Remove the speedometer from the mask by undoing the 2 Torx screws. Pull the speedometer out of its housing. Use a flat screwdriver and remove the USB charger from the left side of the mask. The cables of the right switch pass through the mask and end at the left side of the bike, near the steering head. In order to remove them, you must remove the left side panels. Start by taking out the seat. Remove this torque screw. Detach the side panel from the bike. Remove all 4 screws that secure the side panel on the bike. Remove the panel. Remove these 2 torque screws from the frame cover. Remove the ignition switch cover by pulling it upwards. Remove the airbox cover. Take out the air filter. Carefully remove the 2 plugs of the right switch using a flat screwdriver to press on the plug lock. Pull the cables out of the bike's frame. Release the switch cables from the mask. Remove the 2 screws that support the mask on the top clamp. Carefully and slowly remove the main harness from the mask. Make sure you have cut the zip tie that keeps the harness in its place on the mask. Use a marker to draw a line, which you'll use as a guide to create an opening for the brake line. Repeat this process on the top of the mask, as seen on the video. If you don't want to cut the mask, you'll have to remove the brake line from the front caliper and the master cylinder in order to be able to remove the mask from the bike. Remove the top bolt from the right side frame cover. Remove the 2 screws that support the expansion tank on the frame. Remove the ignition switch screws. Pull the switch out of the frame. Install the rear part of the spider clamp over the switch. This must be done carefully in order not to scratch the paint of the frame. Make sure the orientation is right. Install the switch back on the frame using the supplied bolts that came with the spider head clamp. Install the bolts of the coolant expansion tank. Remove the headlight mask support bracket from the top triple clamp. Carefully place the supplied U-bolt on the frame, taking care not to scratch the paint. Put the spider clamp in place and hand tighten the nuts on the U-bolt. Don't forget to install the wide washers first. Install the long bolts and the spacers on both sides. Set your torque wrench to 25 Newton meters and start tightening the two top bolts. When finished, tighten the U-bolt nuts using the same torque value. In both cases, follow the on-screen procedure and apply the torque gradually to each side of the spider clamp. To achieve a better fitment with a spider clamp, we recommend modifying the frame covers by cutting the upper part, as indicated in the video. Prepare the frame covers for installation. Follow the on-screen procedure and cut the covers as indicated. Use a drill and create two 6mm holes on the left frame cover. If you don't want to proceed with said modification, you can secure the upper part of the covers on the spider clamp spacers by using zip ties. Put back the lower bolt on the left frame cover. Pass the right switch cables through the frame cover. Plug the two connectors and secure them on the frame using a zip tie. Put back the air filter and the cover. Install the switch cover. Install the side panels on the bike. Put back the seat. Time to prepare the Speedo bracket for installation. Start with the warning lights housing. Push them in place and secure them on the bracket by installing the supplied circlips on the rear side of the housings. Install the ABS switch. You can secure it in place by putting a small zip tie on the back side of the bracket. Install the original USB charger on the supplied bracket. Put the Speedo on the mount and use the original screws to secure it in place. Put the warning bulbs in their housing. The one with the white connector is for the turn indicators, and the one with the black connector is for the engine oil. Use a zip tie to secure the cables on the bracket. Mount the bracket on the triple clamp by using the supplied bolts and spacers. Make sure the right switch cables pass behind the bracket. Use a zip tie to secure the main wiring harness on the spider clamp, as shown in the video. Pass a zip tie on the Speedo bracket. We will use this to secure the remaining wires that come from the main harness. Connect the Speedo. Check if there is enough slack for the cable by turning the steering left and right. Connect the ABS switch. Connect the warning lights. Connect the USB charger. Secure the cables on the bracket with the previously installed zip tie. Put a couple of zip ties on the cables, just before and after the connectors. Secure the left and right switch cables on the sides of the Speedo brackets using zip ties. Use a couple of zip ties to join all the cables together. Mount the cable guide on the left fork using the supplied bolts. You can mount it over or under the lower triple clamp. If you do lots of off-road use, we recommend mounting it under the clamp. Remember to put the brake line and the speed sensor cable in the guide before screwing it fully in. Time to prepare the navigation tower for installation. Remove the securing R-clip from the position pin. Turn the tower upside down and use a 4mm Allen and a 12mm wrench to check that the position pin is fully screwed. The side screen brackets have special preloaded M5 bolts. These are secured against accidentally becoming loose by using dedicated safety nuts. Never remove these nuts. These spring-loaded bolts allow you to control the movement of the bracket up and down. Fully securing these bolts will ensure that the screen bracket remains stationary. Undoing these bolts will slowly increase the movement of these brackets. These brackets have special Teflon coating on them, which results in smooth sliding between the tower and the bracket. To prevent damage to the tower, Teflon sleeves are also pre-installed. Never remove these sleeves. Please note that in order for the screen safety system to work, the M5 bolts must remain loose, allowing the brackets to move up and down. Use a 4mm Allen key and check that all 6 bolts on top of the tower are fully screwed. Remove the M8 bolts and the nuts from the base of the tower. Remove the 2 M6 bolts that keep the tower in shape. Store these away. They're not going to be used. Organize the cables and connect the remaining connectors. Time to install the tower on the bike. Use the M8 bolts and the special nuts you removed a couple minutes before. Do not fully tighten them. Leave them loose for now. Install the turn indicators on the tower. The extra oval slot allows you to change the angle of the indicators. Use zip ties to secure the cables on the tower, as shown in the video. Connect the air pressure sensor and place it between the turn indicator wires. Pass the speed sensor cable through the right side of the tower and connect it on the bike harness. Time to install the ultra-hard resin air scoop beneath the tower. Fully turn the steering on the left. Organize the cables and connectors and put them inside the air scoop. Carefully put the air scoop on the tower and secure it in place using the supplied M6 bolts and washers. Make sure the brake hose or any cable doesn't get trapped between the air scoop and the tower. Never over-tighten these M6 bolts. Never use thread lock on these bolts, as contact with thread lock may damage the resin, and never drill the air scoop. Also, don't over-tighten any zip ties on the air scoop. Organize the connectors inside the tower. If needed, use zip ties to secure them in place, avoiding rattle noise. Time to install headlights on the bike. Follow these steps for the ET Racing Dual 4 setup. Check the reflecting foam on the light. Remove the 4 M6 bolts and washers from the light bracket. Connect the headlight on the bike harness using the supplied wiring harness. Install the headlight on the tower using the supplied bolts and washers. The tower features a special slot for the lower bolts that allows to adjust the headlight beam according to the bike's load. Use the supplied M6 bolt and washer to mount the foam safety wire on the tower. Mount the foam on the headlight. When installing the windscreen, you can adjust the foam accordingly. Follow these steps for the dual Hella LED setup. Check the reflecting foam on the light. Remove the 4 M6 bolts and washers from the light bracket. Connect the supplied wiring harness on the headlight. Connect the other end of the harness on the bike. Install the headlight on the tower using the supplied bolts and washers. The tower features a special slot for the lower bolts that allows to adjust the headlight beam according to the bike's load. Use the supplied M6 bolt and washer to mount the foam safety wire on the tower. Mount the foam on the headlight. When installing the windscreen, you can adjust the foam accordingly. Follow these steps for the Hella LED Baja Squadron setup. Check the reflecting foam on the light. Remove the 2 M6 bolts, spacers, and washers that secure the Baja Squadron on the bracket. Remove the 2 M6 bolts and washers on the sides of the bracket. Connect the supplied wiring harness on the bike. Connect the Hella LED. Install the Hella LED on the tower using the supplied bolts and washers. Put the bolt on the top of the tower and the special spacer on the inside. Install the Baja Squadron on the tower. Connect the Baja on the harness and organize the cables behind the headlights. Install the second bolt and spacer using the same procedure. The tower features a special slot for the lower bolts that allows to adjust the headlight beam according to the bike's load. Use the supplied M6 bolt and washer to mount the foam safety wire on the tower. Mount the foam on the headlight. When installing the windscreen, you can adjust the foam accordingly. Follow these steps for the dual Baja Squadron setup. Check the reflecting foam on the light. Remove the 2 M6 bolts, spacers, and washers that secure the upper Baja Squadron on the bracket. Remove the M6 bolts and washers on the sides of the bracket. Connect the supplied wiring harness on the bike. Connect the lower Baja Squadron. Install the lower Baja Squadron on the tower using the supplied bolts and washers. Put the bolt on the tower and the special spacer on the inside. Connect the upper Baja on the harness and organize the cables behind the headlights. Install the upper Baja Squadron on the tower. Install the second bolt and spacer using the same procedure. The tower features a special slot for the lower bolts that allows to adjust the headlight beam according to the bike's load. Use the supplied M6 bolt and washer to mount the foam safety wire on the tower. Mount the foam on the headlight. When installing the windscreen, you can adjust the foam accordingly. Time to install the windscreen on the bike. Put the screen on the position pin and secure it in place using the supplied R-clip. Install the quarter bolts on the sides of the windscreen. Slightly push the screen on the headlight foam in order to align it with the support brackets. When the quarter bolt receptors are new, you may need to push them from the rear side towards the bolts in order to secure the bolts. As a final step, time to secure the M8 bolts of the tower. Set your torque wrench to 25 Newton meters and start with the 2 bolts near the turn indicators. Use the same torque and tighten the 2 bolts that secure the tower on the head clamp. Make sure the nuts on the lower part of the tower are inside their pockets before you start tightening. This way, you'll prevent any damage to the hexagonal nut pocket. By adjusting the screen position, you can create space for your navigation devices, alter the bike's wind protection characteristics, as well as minimize the impact in case of a crash. Get out for a short ride to find the perfect screen position for your needs and riding style. When done, hand tighten the S3 adjustment screw to secure the screen on the defined position. Your Aurora Rally Superlight is now ready for its first ride. If you need more help, feel free to send us an email at the indicated address. Thank you for your support in our products.